Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Rockeyez. With us today is original guitarist from one of Frontiers Records' newest recording artists, Tyketto. It's my pleasure to introduce Brooke St. James. Brooke, welcome to Rockeyez.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
Very good, very good. It's a pleasure to speak with you. Now, Tyketto has a new CD coming out shortly titled Diggin' Deep, which
That's right.
features all four original members of the band.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the new CD.
Thank
How
you.
did the whole reunion of the band come about?
You know what? We had talked about it a few times before it really happened. It just was a matter of getting the timing back together. There was no the any of the reasons for it taking so long to get going weren't over hostilities or any of that kind of thing. There was none of that. I mean, there were definitely some ill feelings when Danny first left the band in I think '94 or something like that. But that was ancient history, and it was so long over. Um, and you know, we did as I'm sure you know, we did a record with Steve O'Gerry it was in Journey for a while. I was in Tall Stories, a couple other
Right.
bands, whatever. Steve's terrific, and he's still one of my best friends today. I love him dearly. Um, and it was an amazing record. One of my all-time favorite records was that Shine album. The only problem is it wasn't a Tyketto album, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of on a parallel, if I can be cheeky, it's kind of on a parallel with a Deep Purple put out an album called Come Taste the Band. And if you're familiar with that, with Tommy Bolin and Glenn Hughes was in the band, Coverdale. So, I mean, Richie wasn't in the band. So, really, and it didn't have the Blackmore flair. It didn't have the Phrygian stuff and all the real weird dark overtones. It was a
Right.
very bluesy, funky record. And so was the Shine album. So, in that regard, it was a real departure. And, yeah, I think years down the road, anybody that picks up that record is going to be like, man, what great songs. I mean, there's some great performances, great songs there. But you know what? One of the things, not to denigrate that album or that experience, because it was wonderful. But getting back together with Mike and Danny and sitting down in a hotel room and starting to knock out the songs. And this is not to exclude Jimmy. It's just that the songs usually started with myself and Dan. Which is typical of most bands. That drummers, not all of the time, but usually take a back seat until there's a melody and a framework in place, and then Mike jumps in. And Michael specializes in arrangements and things like that. He's a really great ideas guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy hops in with his 2 cents too. I mean, we just started at the top. But let me tell you, when we got together and started knocking on the door, and it was like, okay, God, it's been a long time. I was more nervous driving over to the hotel in Vegas when the guys came over than I was actually once I got in the room and we started playing, because I'm like, what if it's not there anymore? I mean, this is going to be really uncomfortable, because we're basically spending money out of our own pockets on an experiment here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen. We've all written 100 songs each between us, over the years, the 15 years, or whatever we were apart. And who knows what planet we're all on now. We've all listened to a million different bands that headed in different directions. And let me tell you something, man, it was just amazing that we sat down. Danny came into the room. The first song was, well, and I should preempt this by saying that he had flown from Spain to New York and then came from New York to Vegas along with Mike. And I don't want to say that they came out there to woo me, because that wasn't it at all. I'm not hard to get, or it was agreed from the beginning via telephone that we all felt that it would be a good time to make a record and we could make it happen. So they made the trek to come to me because I had such a busy playing schedule in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
which was very, very nice of them. But the first time we sat down in that hotel room, and Danny had this song called Faithless, which interestingly enough became the first single on the album, and he had written it with a couple of friends of his from Europe. I believe they're European fellas. Well, I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet, but they had a really cool premise going on there. It had kind of a Zeppelin-esque sort of thing, but the chorus wasn't right. It wasn't happening, and I mean, Danny was like, yeah, I like it. It's kind of cool. There's things about it that are cool, but it needs something. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So immediately, me being a guitar guy, and, Tyketto has always been a musical junkyard. And when I say that, I mean, like, Danny pulls in with a 57 Chevy, but it's missing the hood. And I go, oh, my God, I've got the hood and the fenders right here. And then Michael goes, and I've got the rear tail lights. And, you get the analogy there. It's about parts and songs, and because each one of us had reached into our musical junk box of song ideas and riffs and things that we picked up here and there. And immediately, upon hearing somebody else's little idea that they're like, I don't know where to go with this, you plug in your own ideas that you've heard that are displaced, and they fit together, and it's amazing. They snap together like a perfect model car. And in this case, Faithless came together that way. I had this detuned heavy riff that was very like a 2011 Faithless 2011 Forever Young kind of riff, which probably lends itself more to almost like Evanescence or something like that, I suppose. It's kind of got that ja-jump thing going on, And all of a sudden I plug that in, I go, check this out, I got this riff, and I start playing it, and he just immediately starts playing Faithless, the verse parts we had right after the riff, without me saying, this would be cool with your song Faithless. He knew it. I mean, that's how much, how connected we are. And I'm thinking, this has been closer to 20 than 15 years since we've done this, and I didn't even say anything to him, and he knew where that part went. He knew what song it belonged with. It's like those kind of things, you can't buy that with people. You can't fabricate it. It's just like you have it or you don't. And those things, I'm delighted to say that those are the things that made Don't Come Easy such a special record for so many people, as well as the band. That the word I'm looking for, we just knew. I mean, there's a word that I'm looking for that's pretty simple, but I'm failing to reach. We just reached out, and it fell into place, and we knew. And that's how so many of those songs came together. There's certainly a level with every record we've done together that there was blood, sweat, and tears involved. We were like, oh my God, this song is going to kill me. And sometimes you learn as you get older to let those songs go. Because maybe something will jump up out of the junkyard that'll make the song happen later, Mm-hmm. But the process, man, I got to tell you, man, the process was pretty painless and extremely enjoyable. We've all matured and calmed down as people. And, Michael, his role in the band, he's a business head, he's a business guy. Mm-hmm. Danny and I are not. We are we manage our lives and do well. We're smart guys, but we are not. Michael is just, the guy is like, his brain is like a digital abacus, it just never stops. It's incredible, And he happens to be one of the most badass drummers in the universe, which is really handy. Those two things together. So, Danny and I, we as much as there's a yin and yang between us, it's the Terry, Tyler, Eddie and Dave, thing, I guess. We had that where it's like, oh my God, here we go. Danny would always bring me the real happy pop stuff, and I'd be like, oh God. Like Donny Osmond, And then, in the early days, and not so much now, but, in the early days, I would just, because I was just such a hardcore dyed-in-the-wool, I wanted just the badass heavy riffs and the nasty, snotty, blues-oriented stuff, which is not Danny's thing. I mean, Danny's gotten really soulful over the years, I'm pleased to say, and his voice is better than it ever was when he was a kid. I mean, the guy sings better now than he did when he was 20. It's incredible.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened, but he's magnificent. I mean, the guy is, I can't say enough about him as a singer. I mean, he's one of the best rock singers in the world, and he's very underrated, and not enough people know about him, but I'm thinking that as time goes on, people will find out, in time. Just it takes time sometimes. But I think that about Michael, too, as a drummer. I mean, he's world-class, incredible. And I think that, I think I'm a good, solid guitar player. And I think the attributes in the band is as important as our musicality is. Our personalities are as equally as important because of our ability to, disarm one another at the right time and be able to work with each other. And there's, you've got to have personalities where everybody knows how to navigate one another. If you come in there with a bunch of big heads and craziness and egos and it's my way or the highway, it becomes very narrow. The bandwidth becomes very narrow, which is why Tyketto has songs that are, you listen to our records. If you're not one of those people that are open to different things with different textures, then you're not going to like the band. If you're only going to like a song here or a song there. If you're somebody that's like, for instance, a fan of a band like Queen, you might be more prone to liking us because we have a very we're not a very European sounding band in that regard. I mean, we're a very Americana, rootsy sounding band because of the acoustic factor, you know.
Right.
But there's elements of the, you know, of the old 70s and 80s rock in there and stuff. I mean, we just kind of go from one song to the next song, and whatever, if it's got a good melody and a good hook, and it's like we don't try to be like, well, it's not cool enough. We just say, is it a good song or not a good song? If it's a good song, let's do everything we can to make this song and treat it for what it is. Make it sound as good as we can make it sound, and it'll be a Tyketto song ultimately at the end because Danny's singing it, you know. So,
Right.
dude, I'm just prattling on. How was that for a 40-minute answer? I'm sorry. I'm just excited about the record. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I appreciate it. But other than being one of the tracks on the CD, what made you decide on Diggin' Deep as the CD title, and does it have any special meaning?
Well, you know what? It was just the song. The track Diggin' Deep ended up being so cool for us. Everybody just took a real liking to it because it was really like, you know, pretty different for us in that it was actually there was a song that could have been right on that Shine record. Interestingly enough, it had a real Stonesy, Black Crowsy element to it, and kind of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you listen to it, you kind of hear it. I mean, it's got a pop chorus and stuff, but it has some of that stuff. I mean, the slide solo and all that stuff. We were just having some fun. I was doing the open G tuning to get my Keith Richards on and stuff, you know. And everybody liked the song and just felt like, you know, it was not only that Danny had written this chorus called, you know, it was Diggin' Deep is what he had. And I basically completely stripped the song down to nothing and rebuilt the song rhythmically and musically. And everybody got involved and put in their 2 cents. But, I mean, I took it from a completely different place than it came from. And it just grew into this monster, this four-legged monster. And we all fell in love with it. It was kind of like the crazy song of the record, like, ooh, this is cool. And, like, we just threw off the rules and said, just let this thing rock and do crazy stuff. I mean, and I came up with the whole boom, the whole slow ride drum flam stuff, and Michael added in some amazing sort of bottom drum parts and stuff, and it really turned into this cool monster. So we had a secret love affair with that song, and I think that's why that, along with the fact that, you know, the affection we had for the song, along with how much effort it took to get this thing all assembled. Not so much the writing process, but just to organize our lives. You've got one guy living in Spain, one guy in New York, and one guy in Las Vegas. To get all that together, to get this record done, I mean, that's an undertaking. It may not sound like it, but, you know, when you're 23 years old, it's a lot easier to fly around and do whatever you want to do and this and that and the other thing, you know. I mean, you're living out of a backpack or a suitcase. It doesn't matter. You know, and now there's children involved and families and, you know, responsibilities and other things that you have to make sure you're honoring those responsibilities as well as your commitment to your bandmates, you know. And we are committed to each other, extremely committed to each other. You know, it's a very dear endeavor or process. The band, what we've created together, we're very passionate about it. As much as our egos would love to just roll our eyes at it at times when we were younger, now, you know, as you get older, you realize how unique and how special it is to have something like that, you know. There's a few bands around like that, you know, that still get out and do it, but not too many that are as underground as we are. You know, the bands that are still doing it 25 years later or whatever are doing it because there's a lot of money involved. There's no money in it for us. We do it for the love of it. So it's a really intense, stressful, and there's a lot of effort involved to make it happen, and sacrifices on the behalves of our families, which is even more wonderful. My wife, you know, we're all married. We all have to ask our wives to say, "Oh, baby, please don't freak out. I'm going to be gone for a few months." You know, I think it's very hard for me to be away. But, you know, I love these guys. I love our music, and I think it was worth it, you know. So I think that more than anything else would be where the Diggin' Deep thing came from. You know,
Now,
It's
where do you...
apropos. It's apropos for the record,
Gotcha. Now, where do you get your ideas, or what inspires you when writing?
I steal everything I ever came up with from CC DeVille. Oh, sorry, just know this. No, I love CC. He's fucking guy's a great guitar player. But no, I just I shouldn't have used his name. That probably wasn't smart. And I still, because the reality of it is, it's true. We steal from everybody. You know what? We just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And the bottom line is, everybody. I mean, anybody you ask in any band's going to do the same answer. You're a byproduct. It's what you are, what you eat. In this case, you are what you listen to. What you ingest, you regurgitate in some way, shape, or form. One of the things as a guitar player that I've maybe a curse and a blessing is that I never was one of these guys that sat down and learned things note for note. I mean, and I loved Van Halen and all those guys, the Flash guys, but I never learned things note for note for note, where it was just like perfect, dead on, nailed, because I was always afraid that I would become that. Like all of a sudden, you don't want to wake up and go, oh my God, I'm doing somebody else's bag. I don't even have my own identity. I always just spun it in my own thing. It's kind of like what Tommy Bolin did, which made him such a great, amazing guitar player. What a shame that he died, because that guy was the next Jimi Hendrix. I mean, the guy he could play rock, jazz, blues, funk, anything, and all of it was top shelf. The guy was a world-class guitar player. Proud to say he was from Minnesota too, by the way, North Iowa, then Minnesota. But it just comes from whatever you've listened to, and you throw it at the wall, and then like Danny would throw his sort of, I guess people want to say Midwestern. I don't know why they say that. It's odd because he's not a Midwestern guy, but it's because it's rootsy sounding. It's got a folk element to it, and it's acoustic driven. They say Midwestern, but we would find ways to mesh together these heavy rock guitar lines with jingle jangle guitar strums. It was kind of like, what? But it worked. Well, I don't know how we did it. We there was times we forced it, and then other times when it just fell together. Was that a good enough answer to that?
Sure,
I don't know.
yeah.
I drift sometimes. My right turn signal's broken. I'm sorry.
Well, you have a kind of interesting history with the band yourself, having joined and left several times and come back several times over the years. What made you decide that now was the right time to start writing and working with the band again on this project?
Well, you know what? Before we go into that, let's clarify this rejoining and leaving thing. You know what? I mean, it's not that. It's not that I joined and left and joined and left. It's not, I mean, when you're in the band, when you're Tyketto, you're in Tyketto, I mean, there's been a couple of super talented guys that have worked with Danny and Mike when I was not there. I don't want to say that wasn't Tyketto, because obviously they were playing Tyketto songs and that was Tyketto too. But I mean, the things that led to those events were basically me being at a different time, at a different place in my life that just didn't align itself with going on the road and touring or making records. I mean, Danny spent a good, I don't want to make a mistake about this, so I won't say a time frame, but he's put out some amazing records on his own. The Danny Vaughan stuff that he's put out has been tremendous, and he should be proud of it, because a lot of people love it. But that was really done under the Tyketto, it was very separate, and that was a big gap in time that people tend to think of it as being me not being around or not wanting to be in the band. Well, Danny was off doing his own thing. Michael spent a lot of years building a very successful business in New Jersey, and he's raising a family as well. I mean, so a lot of things get in the way. It just looks ugly when, like, you're doing, how many guitar players are say, yeah, I'm not going to play Donington, Let me be the first to be the idiot to put that hat on, Well, you know what? It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I was committed to my gig with YDR in Vegas, and that was important to me. And I made a commitment to the band, and I needed to fulfill that. So that's done now, and now I'm ready to rock. But So anyway, back to the original question. Again, the turn signal. What was the original question again?
What made you decide that now was the right time to start really
Oh,
writing and
well, you know
working with
what?
the
It
band?
wasn't so much that it was a decision on my part. It was, Danny and Mike and I had talked, and it was a matter, again, getting the stars to align and figuring out the time frame and the logistics and can we make it work with our families and our businesses and everything. Um, and it was kind of like we'd wanted to do it for a while before Frontiers Records was ever in the picture. We never even thought about how we release it or what we do with the music. The passion for us was there to do a record, you know.
Hmm.
If for nothing else other than our fans, the people that just love the band, and we wanted to make music for them. And so it sort of worked out that we had a window where Danny wasn't gigging too much, and the guys ended up coming to me because of my schedule. I was playing 3 and 4 nights a week in Vegas. They came to me, and then we got together, and boom, boom, boom. It really, I mean, had that first get together with us been like really bad, like had we sat in a hotel room together with acoustic guitars and tried to put ideas together and gone, yeah, okay, nice to see you guys, but we're on a different planet now. And that does happen to people. You don't hear about it because the record never comes out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it does happen, and it was a real fear for me. I was very nervous about that. And, again, very happy that it just clicked into place so easily and so effortlessly. And it was like freakishly easy in that regard,
Hmm.
So,
Now, as you mentioned, I know you mentioned Faithless was the first song that you started working on, and we talked a little bit about Digging Deep. Is there any other song on the CD that you can recall being any more challenging than the others, or anything that is a little more special to you
um,
personally?
well, I love all of the songs on the record. Um, I'm really proud of it, Look, there's something really magical happened with this record that I want to just tell you about because you wouldn't know to ask about it. I mean, a lot of people would never say, "How do you guys write your songs?" or whatever, and that's sort of a convoluted question anyway, right? But the thing was, this would be the first time in my life I wish people would ask me that because normally you'd be like, "Oh, please don't ask me that question," but this time, this process was really cool. I mean, something really cool happened, I should say. Because Danny's in Spain, and he's got a Roland 1680. He's got one of those digital Roland recorders, okay? And it was great for him to demo up his ideas. He is not, I mean, I have a full-blown studio at my house, and I've had one for the past 15 years. I can't be without it. I'm just a freak when it comes to that. And a room loaded with vintage guitars and Marshalls and Fenders, and I need to I need to create my own music and my own textures, and it's just such a I get a great deal of satisfaction from that. But anyway, Danny had his Roland rig. I had my studio rig, and Michael doesn't have really a recording facility, but he's got access to it because he works with musicians every day. So we started busting ideas around that way, and I would send something to Michael, and he would go lay drums on it and send it back to me. And it was kind of how we built our first demo. But then we got into this other concept, and Danny sent me a couple of ideas, like the Digging Deep chorus, and this other thing, which ended up being called a song called "The Fight Left in Me," which I ended up, I just didn't. It was very. I mean, I don't want to say disjointed because that sounds disrespectful to the idea. Because Danny's a very prolific musician, and the guy just cranks the stuff out. But there was something about it. He said, "I don't know how we're going to marry this to that." He said, "I like the ideas of them together. They're at the same tempo. They feel good, but they feel there's the connection. The connective tissues are a little awkward." And I said, "I got this idea, dude. Send me your vocal and just give me a BPM, which is basically a beats per minute. How fast the tempo is that you recorded your vocal at, And that's how you create a timeline in a recording studio, a linear timeline that allows you to line up instruments so that they all lock in together,
Mm-hmm.
If it's 120 beats per minute, you can have everybody have that information, play drums, bass, guitar, whatever, and everything lines up. So he gave me that, and then I just stripped away the acoustic guitar and just had his vocal, and I said, would you allow me the liberty of just building a song around you singing. I mean, that has nothing to do with what you first sent me. And he said, sure, whatever, just try whatever you want. Again, this is a hats off to the maturity of these guys and how much we've all developed as musicians and our ability to let go and not to need to control things, which is, it leads to great things, And so I came up with this crazy other stuff, and I sent it back to him and Mike, and they're like, what the... They're like, dude, this is completely off the hook, But they're like, it's cool, though. It's really heavy. It's kind of got almost a scorpion, white snaky kind of, I don't know, just whatever it is. I don't know. But all of a sudden, it busts into this chorus that could be off Don't Come Easy. It's very Wings, happy, And, again, that was the thing. That was the connective tissue. Danny was like, that's it. That's it. That's what I couldn't figure out, is how we get this to go to that. And you know what? He, and in this process of doing this record, Danny provided me with that stuff too. I mean, it was really enjoyable. I mean, the things that I'd be like, I don't know I don't get it. It would be right under my nose, but because I stand in my own shoes all day, I have no perspective. And Danny would go, well, why don't you just do this? And I go, oh yeah, So it was wonderful, So anyway, Fight Left in Me is something I'm really proud of. Love. Here's Hoping It Hurts. Just a classic,
it's a great
happy,
song. That's one of my favorites on this.
Angry pop tune.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about a interpersonal relationship Danny had with somebody who it's a done you wrong song,
Right.
And and just his lyrics, man. I mean, you listen to some of the lyrics out there, any music, any modern music, and you're like, you're not really gonna put those lyrics on that song, right? I mean, you're gonna change them, right? Those are just pretend lyrics. That's what I want to say when I see these lyrics of people. It's like, I mean, I eat bubble gum. I am dumb. Sam, I am. Green eggs and ham. I mean, that's what I feel like when I see lyrics, these days. And with Danny, it's like you read his lyrics. You don't even need to hear the music. Just sit down and read his lyrics sometimes in silence. Read the lyrics, and they read like Jesus. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this guy gets it. It's like, he's a real story man. He's a real music guy,
Mm-hmm.
He's got it all going on, and it's a shame. I mean, I don't want to sound dour about it, but I mean, it is a shame that he's not been regarded as the talent that he is. I mean, because the guy's magnificent,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really honored to share the stage with him and to be able to make records with him again. And we've gone through our battles, and that's what makes this all the sweeter, is coming through this together and having done it on two separate continents. Pretty incredible achievement as far as I'm concerned.
Right. What was it like recording at Milbrook Studios?
Oh, that was great. Paul Orfino, the guy that runs the studios, just got the greatest vibe in there. And super, super amazing engineer. Great facility, great vibe. I don't know if you heard the story or not, but we had a huge blizzard that came in
Mm-hmm.
right before Halloween, like a couple days before Halloween or something. I can't remember exactly the date, but it was mid to late October, right before Halloween, and man, it was like 2 feet of snow or a foot and a half of snow. Shut the studio down, took trees down everywhere, and of course trees go down because when you have that much snow and all the trees still have their leaves, they bear all the weight, and so we lost power. Everything. The trees took the power lines down. It was a process, but the studio itself was great. Paul's an amazing guy with an incredible musical history. He started in New York City, and now his clientele is these guys. Rick Ocasek stops in and hangs out. The guys with Golden Earring are up there recording, and guys from the Stones, and the people, or at least people tangent to the Stones, There's all these really cool people come around with their stories and their history, and Paul is also a great musician, great guitar player with tons of great classic stuff, and good insight, great ideas guy. So highly recommend that place to anybody that wants to make a great. If you're looking to make a Beyonce type record, maybe not so much, but If you're looking for a place that's really, really like old school, from the heart, you know, yeah, man, you would be doing yourself a disservice to not go see him. It was amazing. Milbrook is an incredible place. Hats off to Danny and Mike for calling that place. It was great.
Now, I understand you did something else really cool in the recording process, and while you were up there at Millbrook was actually recording like a video diary, which you put onto your YouTube channel. Who
Yeah,
came up with
yeah,
that
we did.
idea?
Oh, Michael, you know, I mean, again, this goes back to his brilliance you know, and maybe Danny too. I don't want to cut him out of it. I didn't think of it because I'm just trying to remember whether or not I put my underwear on before I put my jeans on. You know, this is my problem. You know, like, oh, wait a minute, or did I? Oh, I did put strings on my guitar. You know, just knucklehead, you know. But these guys are just, you know, Danny's always a day in front of where we need to be, so he keeps the machine rolling. Michael's always thinking about business. And it was really, Michael did all that. He actually did all the editing and everything. I mean, it's just really cool, you know. And you know what I love about it? It's like, you know, people say, I want to say bad words, but people say, oh, you're just the drummer or whatever. Let me tell you something. This band would never have gotten anywhere without Michael in our band because, you know, he's the heartbeat in a lot of respects that when, especially, you know, he being a classic Libra, as am I, but I'm also the lead guitar player, when things would get hot between Danny and I, Mike just knew how to play the scales. He knew how to balance everything. He just always kept the equilibrium, and he would make everybody see the other guy's side. And, you know, it takes a magical connection between 3, 4, 5 guys to have a band like that work for that many years. And Mike, as well as having those skills, he also would be the guy that would just have a vision for things and like, oh, you know, what if we did this or what if we did that? And, you know, so in disseminating that myth about drummers being this kind of useless Neanderthal guy that just breaks things, and believe me, Michael brings his share. we used to get pissed at him like, dude, the whole budget is your cymbals and sticks. You're killing us. Come on. But he would more than make up for it. And perfect example is this video footage. And, you know, he just had this vision for this thing, and he did it all. And, you know, while Danny and I are snoring, you know, or watching a DVD of some goofy movie from 1965 downstairs at this beautiful facility we stayed at while we were tracking, Mike's upstairs editing footage from the last 3 days, and he sleeps for 3 hours that night because he did it all one night and got it posted. It was like amazing. I'm thinking, dude, how do you have the wherewithal to do it? Plus, then gets up the next day, runs a business remotely from the studio, and then plays badass drums all day. I mean, this guy's got a machine. You know, he's a machine. You know, so it's very cool, and it takes people with special skills. You know, I'm not sure what mine are yet. I'm still looking for them, but I put them somewhere. And I can't remember where I set them down.
So I see you have some shows already lined up, including another visit to Firefest.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you've got lined up so far.
Well, I know we got Firefest. I mean, outside of that, I don't know what else is going on. I mean, and if there's something else that I've forgotten about, please forgive me. But, you know, here's the thing. You know, what we're not looking to do is go out and pound the ground in playing clubs, because our lives have changed, and our first considerations are our family, you know. My craft is dear to me, and my guitars and amps and my playing and my love for music will always be just, I mean, there's no separating me. It's part of my being. It's part of my soul. But when you introduce children into your life and you know, families, and as things develop, you know, you have to shift your priorities a little bit and make sure those kids are taken care of and all that. So we've got a couple of great opportunities in front of us, and we're just going to be very careful and diligent in hand selecting them. What I'm hoping to see happen is some festivals pop up this summer. That would be really terrific. Mm-hmm. For me personally, you know, I'm working on solo music because I want to get a really great guitar record out. I would like to get it out before Christmas this coming year. God willing, I would like to get it out before Christmas. And I'm going to go out and do a couple dates. Interestingly enough, my old buddy Steve Algieri, I'm going to go out and play with him this summer. or just a few one-offs, just like the Tyketto thing. And then, if some great dates come up, like Donington or that stuff again, I would love to go. I'd be honored to do that again. But we'll see what comes up. Right now there's a lot. Nobody's jumping up and down because the records are not been released. A lot of people don't have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you've heard it then? You've heard at least parts of it?
Oh, I've heard the whole thing.
Pretty cool, huh?
Very cool album.
I think it's a cool record. I mean, look, not everything is for everybody, And I mean, if I could go back right now and make some changes, would I? Of course, because you can't stop. That's the problem. Is you need somebody to go, okay, that's it. I know you're not happy with everything, but it's done. Stop it. It's just like an obsession. Otherwise, you will go and go and go, and you'll wake up and you're Tom Scholz. 4 years later, you're still working on your record. I mean, you've just got to say, okay, it is what it is. And hopefully people will enjoy it or have a couple of moments out of it to say, yes, that's Tyketto I love. That's what we're after.
So, what are your hopes for the new release and the band for the future?
I will tell you this: when you finish a record, it's a lot like what a gal goes through that has a baby. I shouldn't say every gal, but there are certain women that after they give birth, they go through postpartum, and I think that's a very similar experience with the record process. As much as during the last 3 to 4 weeks, me, Mike, Dan, and Jimmy were all probably going, oh my God, can this please be over? Can this please be over now? Because, and I don't mean that we don't want to be around each other or make music together, but there were so many things like, oh, okay, we got a problem with this. This didn't work, or something's wrong with this, or this sounds weird, we're getting this glitchy. All these technical stuff and things like last-minute stuff with songs are like, oh man, I'm not happy with this mix, or blah, blah, blah. It drives you insane. And these are the moments that you start to hate your own song because you go over it and over and over until you find the problems, you fix everything, But interesting enough, you put out this thing of, oh my God, I can't wait for this to be over. But the second that it's over, well, not the second, maybe the morning after, you wake up and go, I don't want it to be over. You're like, can't we just do one? Oh, let's do one more song. Because you realize you're releasing it. It's like a breakup, or you've given birth to this child that has been for 9 months. You've carried this thing. In our case, better part of 2 years. A year and a half anyway. That you've just carried this thing with you, and oh man, it's just an act of passion, and everybody's you become a politician and a parent and all these things at the same time, and a musician, because you're fighting for the things you believe in, and you're trying to sell your ideas to other people to make it not for an ego purpose, but to make sure that the songs are the best that you think they can be, but you need to make 3 other people believe the same thing you believe. And they don't always believe that. So it's just a process that goes round and round and round. When it's done and over with, you're exhausted, but I'm pleased to say, and I guess that means it was a positive experience, that I immediately thought, God, I want to start writing with Danny right now. I'm ready to start writing another record with him. I actually missed it. I missed getting up and seeing his emails going, hey, man, I had this idea. I mean, I know he's in Spain and I'm here in the Midwest, and that's okay. We're always going to be brothers. That's never going to end until one of us leaves this earth. But that is just such an enjoyable experience for me, And the same with Mike and same with Jimmy. We all have our moments of life. I'm sure every one of us grind each other's gears, but that's a very, very, that is something that is invariable between us. It's not going to change. It'll always be there. So my thing is, I'm ready to go make Tyketto music again. I'm not that I don't want to play for fans. I do. If the demand is there, it's great. I don't want to be away from my family that much. I'm willing to do it if it makes sense. But man, what I really love doing is making music. And I think that if you were to ask fans, would you rather see the band playing live, but hearing old songs, or would you rather get records every couple of years or every year? I bet you they'd settle for the records. Mm-hmm. I'll bet you they would. And a show every 2 years. You know what I mean? I'll bet you they would. Because it's not like we've got this. We go to South America, we go to Europe, we go to the UK, and that's pretty much where we live as far as our fan base. I mean, we've never been to Japan, and we still have that. That's a nut we've never cracked. But tomorrow's another day, right?
Yeah, that's really surprising to me because
I know
that's the style of music that never died over there. That always stayed pretty steady over there. That they
I
always in
know.
that genre.
Well, and I will tell you something. There's another reason why I want to get this Brooke St. James record done, because from a guitar player perspective, I think it would be a wonder. I mean, like, look what Paul Gilbert has done with his career. I mean, when he's not doing Mr. Big or whatever else he's doing, and Paul's just on top of being one of the nicest, smartest people you'll ever meet. Just a lovely human being. He's a magnificent guitar player. I mean, stunning to listen to him play. And his career is it's never going to slow down. He's a machine. It just keeps rolling. He's very inspired, very musical, very, he inspires me, He just loves what he does, and his candor is just so, oh, well, why don't you do this, and whatever, it's okay, it doesn't matter, There's none of these affectations or rock star crap with a guy like that, I love that. Love that.
Well, Brooke, that's about it. Is there anything in conclusion that you'd like to say or say to your fans?
Well, you know what? I'm very excited to see how the record is received. I'm really proud of the record, and again, it was a really enjoyable process for us to put back together a band that we believed in for so many years. Is such a big part of us, and I'm very excited to see how it's received with our fans. I'm very excited. Now, hopefully, we'll make some new ones along the way.
Well, great. Brooke, thank you so much again for taking the time to do this. Congratulations on the new release. I wish you a lot of success with the album, and I hope you guys change your mind because we'd love to see you in Jersey here again.
Oh, man, thank you so much. And you know what? We may do some shows. Hard to say. It could be summer or fall before we do it. One last thing I want to throw out there is I'm just starting to put together a website right now in which I am doing all kinds of different interesting stuff for guitar players that are interested. Literally helping guys put together touring rigs, guys that want to learn how to play certain things, Tyketto music, anything. Just kind of working with people on a one basis on my website. It's brookestjames.net. It is just under the construction process right now, but will be up in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on that too.
Awesome. So it sounds like we have some more to look forward to then.
Yeah, man, sure do. I ain't going away yet.
Well, again, like I said, congratulations, and thank you so much again for being a part of Rockeyez.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, my friend.
You take care. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.